video, we are going to be talking all about spirit guides, what they are, what they do, why we have them, and what we can do to take full advantage of their assistance. Please keep in mind that all of this information is channeled through meditation. So it's just from my own meditations and it's from my own personal experiences from spirit guides. So if it doesn't resonate with you, then that's totally fine. If it sounds completely insane, I totally get that because I'm actually a skeptic at heart, and never in a million years did I think I'd make a video about spirit guides. And so I wouldn't believe in them if I hadn't had my own experiences. So if it doesn't resonate, I'm good. But if it does resonate with you, then give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing. By the way, my name is Catherine. I'm an energy healer, spiritual coach, and nurse practitioner. If you want to work with me, you can go to my website at catherineglassman.com, or you can email me at hello@catherineglassman.com. So what is a spirit guide? A spirit guide is an interdimensional being that has volunteered to assist you in your evolutionary and spiritual journey. These beings can literally be anything from angels to animals to departed loved ones to past life versions of yourself to future versions of yourself to aliens to dragons. If you can think it, it exists. Most of the time, these relationships are organized before we come to the planet. We usually will choose our spirit guides, and our spirit guides will also choose us. And in this way, everyone has a good understanding of what you're trying to accomplish in that lifetime. When I asked for more information about spirit guides for my own spirit guides, they said that we are assigned a spirit guide and also an angel at birth. Now, the difference between a spirit guide and an angel is that angels are a specific species of interdimensional beings. They typically come from a higher dimension, like the 7th or the 11th dimension, and they are really good with protecting us. They ensure that we don't exit out of this lifetime prematurely when it's not contracted to do so. So even though we're assigned one spirit guide and one angel right at birth, as we live our lifetime, we end up getting more angels and more spirit guides, and some of them come and some of them go, but they all just have a very specific assignment that they want to help us accomplish. There are actually a couple of movies that remind me of spirit guides, and I feel that they are pretty accurate in how they work. So the first movie is called Drop Dead Fred. It's an older movie, but it's about a girl who has an imaginary friend, and the imaginary friend doesn't leave until she learns this one particular lesson. And I used to love this movie when I was younger, and I just loved it and watched it over and over again. When I watched it after my spiritual awakening, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. Oh my gosh, they are talking about spirit guides. That's exactly how they work. And the other movie that's a little bit more recent is the Disney Pixar movie Soul. In that movie, the spirit guides, I would say, are the mentors that help the little souls get all of their little badges. So that's pretty much what it is. It's a relationship that you have with another being so that you can go through your spiritual evolutionary process. Like, how cool is that? So what do spirit guides do? There is a specific lesson that you need to learn or a specific block that you need to overcome. Then there will be one guide or one angel that will assist you with that particular thing. For example, if you have had many lifetimes where you struggled with money, and you just couldn't quite get a good grasp on your relationship with money and the energy of money, then in this lifetime, you will end up having a spirit guide that was once a financial expert and genius in a previous lifetime. And that guide will assist you in overcoming your money blocks. So, personal story, I went and saw one of my friends who is a professional psychic medium, and she just felt inclined to tell me that I have a new spirit guide that I need to start working with. And she was like, I can't really get the name right. It's like Datsolala or Matsalali. And even in the reading, she was like, yeah, your guide is actually getting very mad at me because I can't figure out what her name is. And she was like, but she's a famous basket weaver and she's famous. Her baskets are in museums. She's like, she's a Native American and she really wants you to start working with her. And I was like, well, what does she want me to do? And she said, well, she's telling you that you need to work and you need to focus on your work. She's like, she doesn't think you can make a basket, but you can maybe start with a rattle. It's like, okay. So she likes to talk smack. Got it. So later on that day, I get on the internet and I start to look for Datsolala or Watsolala, right? Just a weird long name and a basket weaver, Native American basket weaver. And wouldn't you know it, there is a woman named Datsolali who is a Washoe tribe woman, famous basket weaver. Her baskets are in museums and they are going for like tens of thousands of dollars. So pretty cool, right? Like, okay. So I start like meditating to her and start connecting with her. And she keeps telling me, now she tells me to weave baskets, but what she means by that is when she weaves a basket, it's very meticulous and it was very hard on her hands, but they came out so beautifully because she was so dedicated to the work. So basically, she has come into my life to teach me how to stay focused and steady on one thing and to be persistent and stay determined in finishing the final product. And I think she actually is what's helping me with the YouTube channel, to be completely honest, to just stay steady and consistent and focused. So fast forward to like 2 years later, my partner and I decide to take a trip to Lake Tahoe. So the Tahoe trip was specifically for his birthday. Okay, so it's his birthday, so we're gonna do everything that he wants. But I like to do a thing now since my awakening where every time I take a vacation, I meditate on it first and I ask to connect with the land and to just have a beautiful and spiritual experience with wherever I'm going to go. And what I like to do is I like to do energy work while I'm there. So I'll put it out there and ask, where do I need to go? What place needs healing energy? I got on the internet and I started looking at Tahoe and I started looking at a map and I was like, okay, show me where I need to go. And immediately it showed this one area and I just started zooming in and it ended up being like an old Indian school. Now, this is one of those schools that were like for reforming Native Americans back in the day so that they would have to assimilate into the American culture, right? It was to teach them to not be Native Americans, okay? And I was like, okay, I'll go there. And I started looking at the map and I'm just kind of looking around the school and there's one little section and it looks like a graveyard and it's very small. It kind of looks like a dirt lot, but that was the place that I felt really drawn to go. And I was like, okay, that's not so unusual. If there's a place of trauma or if there is like a graveyard, I really do like to do energy work and set up portals so that they can cross over or at least just give them love and give that land love. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to this old Indian school, go to the graveyard, and give it some healing energy. And that will be my thing. So we go to Lake Tahoe. We do all the fun things on the weekend. And at the very last day, it was my thing now, right? We start driving and it's somewhere in Carson City. And we find the school and we're just driving around the school because it's not open and it's not a place that people visit. So it's so strange to just be driving around at a place that I felt intuitively called to, right? But my partner's used to it, so it's not a big deal. So we're just driving around and I'm looking on the map and I was like, I think the graveyard's over here. And we start driving towards it and there's this chain linked fence and it's not very big, but it's a chain link fence and there's like ribbons on it and you can see tiny little headstones. I was like, okay, that's the graveyard. So we drive up there and we get a little closer and there's a big sign on it and it's got the Nevada symbol on it. And we drive a little closer and he looks at me and he's like, no way. Because I told him the story about my spirit guide, right? And I look up and it's actually a national monument or like a state monument, I believe, as the resting place for Dotso Lali. What? That was the day that I made him a believer about spirit guides. And so I gave energy and I'm like so ecstatic that of all the places that I could have gone to in Lake Tahoe, that this tiny little graveyard, this little dirt lot of a graveyard for Native Americans, this is where her resting place is. She is a famous basket weaver and this is where she is. Like, it blew my mind. Of course, it was upsetting, but I won't go into that, but it was wild. So I'm just giving energy and like talking to her and things like that. And I like to leave gifts. So the only thing I had was an apple. So I went and grabbed an apple and I took it to her grave and I was like, I'd like to leave this for you as an offering. And I heard her laugh and she said, apples are for the living. And so I didn't leave the apple. I ended up leaving something else, like a piece of jewelry or something like that, but it was funny. So, anyway, back to spirit guides. So, why do spirit guides choose to do this? They do this because they themselves are actually on a spiritual journey. They are going through their own personal process of evolution. And by doing this, this actually helps them elevate their own frequency. It's very similar to why someone would pull over to the side of the road to help an injured animal. Because when you help someone else or something else, there is a connection that you form not only with them, but with the entire whole of existence itself. When you do that, you end up weaving together a unity of some sort of energy that you can't really see, but you know you can feel. The more often you do this, the more unified you become with all that is. You also connect with other energies and other personalities, and you gain access to a lot of information this way. This ends up creating better karma for them, and this is how you also get access to higher dimensions. But interestingly enough, just like we're assigned spirit guides and angels to help us, believe it or not, we are actually assigned darker energies and even sometimes demons. Now, hear me out. The reason why we are assigned dark energies and demons occasionally throughout our lifetime is so that they can challenge us, so that we can understand who we are as a person and as a soul. For example, if let's say there was one karmic issue that I needed to overcome, like sex addiction. I don't know. So if I am struggling with sex addiction or whatever, I will be assigned either a dark energy or a demon to help sway me into that direction more and more so that I can learn to overcome that seductive energy. It's just like on the cartoons when you have a little angel and a little devil on your shoulder and they're both kind of whispering in your ear trying to make you do different things. It's literally just like that. Actually, you know what? A better example would be the movie Constantine. So in Constantine, they only talk about angels and demons, which isn't completely accurate, but it's a good example. There are angels everywhere, and then there are demons everywhere, and then there are what they call half-breeds. So there are living humans that have the essence of an angel in them, and then there are other human beings that have the essence of a demon in them. And they walk around trying to sway other people into doing different things. This is the purpose of the dark energy. It's not necessarily to wreak havoc on your life and to just make things bad, which although there are some energies that have that sole purpose, but it's more to challenge you and to give you the opportunity to really evolve into what it is that you truly believe that you are. If you really believe that you are meant to be a sex addict, then you're just going to continue to listen to that energy and just get drawn into that. But if you don't really believe that that's what you're destined for, then you will have no choice than to overcome it. Once you overcome the thing, then you end up being a much more powerful version of yourself. You become more useful. This is the reason why the darker energies exist, and there's a very good reason why the devil himself exists as well. But we'll save that for another video. But if you can ever think of someone who struggles with addiction or feeling depressed or suicidal, right? There are a lot of people that are struggling. Now, sure, some people just have, psychological disorders or have had trauma. Yes, of course, all of those things are real. But what is also very real are entities and energies that are trying to sway us into a certain behavior. And although they can only sway us and advise us into something, it's ultimately our decision to make, to either overcome it or to give into it. I want to talk about another movie. I don't know why I'm talking about a lot of movies, but maybe it's because of my previous video on predictive programming. There is a movie called The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and it's a really good movie. It's about a woman who was possessed by a demon, and she ended up dying. And the priest that tried to do the exorcism ended up going to court. They were going to charge him with manslaughter. There is a scene where she is deep in the demonic possession. She's hallucinating and things like that. And at one point, she has a dream and she's walking in a field and she sees Mother Mary. And Mother Mary tells her, if you don't want to suffer anymore, then I will take you with me now. But if you choose to stay and endure the pain for a little bit longer, then you will inevitably become a much bigger story, and you will end up telling the world that these things are real. And even though she's suffering and her body is dying and she's going crazy and everything, she tells her that she's going to stay. And she stays and she endures the suffering. And because she endured the suffering, she ended up becoming a famous exorcism story, thus showing other people that demons and demonic possession are real. So why do I bring this up in a spirit guide video? I bring it up because a lot of these are contracted. A lot of these are orchestrated before we even come onto the planet to have spirit guides of the light and those of the dark, because this will assist us in the great mission that we've chosen to be a part of. So how do we connect with our spirit guides? Well, you just set the intention. But the intention has to be very specific and very clear, because now that we understand that there are darker energies and light energies, we have to make our intention very specific to interact with the light beings only. So when I make the intention to connect with my spirit guides, I will say something to the effect of, I am wanting to connect with my spirit guides and angels for the highest good for all involved, letting no harm come to any. No darker energies, no lower vibrating energies are allowed within this space at this current time. My mission is specifically in the hands of God, in the hands of unity and in love. Then I'll usually throw in asking Archangel Michael and Archangel Azrael to assist me in this connection. So Archangel Michael is the angel of protection and Archangel Azrael is the angel of death. The angel of death assists souls back to heaven or transmuting that energy from negative to positive. So I pretty much consider them like my own personal bodyguards, so they're with me all the time. And the more you set the intention and the more often you do it, it becomes easier and faster. So now when I connect with my spirit guides, it's automatic that there are no darker energies that are allowed to interact with me during my work. It's really important to understand that there are spirit guides that will pose as your spirit guides, but are actually dark energies. I knew a woman who started having an awakening and she was connecting with energies in her spirit guides, and she decided to become a tarot reader, and over time, her life just started to fall apart and she couldn't really understand why that was. She just assumed that it was because it was just part of the awakening. But then there were multiple fires that happened in her life, and that is when I knew that she wasn't interacting with her light being spirit guides. She was actually interacting with darker energies. This is why setting that intention and being very, very clear is so important, because your light beings and your positive spirit guides, like, they're never going to really deceive you, right? The darker energies, they most certainly will. So after you set the intentions of connecting with your spirit guides, you can ask for a sign. If you don't feel like you're really psychically open or very intuitive, that's okay. You can just ask for something simple. So when I was first starting off with interacting with my spirit guides, I remember I was with my sister and we were in Colorado, and I was just making it a game because sometimes I don't really believe it, right? So I want the proof. And so I specifically asked my guides for a white feather, a beautiful, pure white feather. And I told my sister and I said, hey, I asked my spirit guides for a white feather. So I'm just letting you know because I'm just going to have fun with it. She's like, okay. My family they thought I was going crazy. And so we were in Manitou Springs and we were just walking around, just kind of, having fun, getting lunch and things like that. And we walk into the store and I'm just looking at all the little trinkets and things. And she comes out of the corner kind of quickly and she was like, you are not going to believe what's here. And I had no clue what she was talking about because we had this conversation days before. So she pulls me around the corner, and in this little glass jar, there was one giant white, beautiful feather. And there were no other feathers. It was just by itself, super random, but very, very evident. But yeah, I do this all the time. But it's really important that when you have these interactions and when you ask for a sign, that you stay fairly open-minded to what you're going to receive. Because even though my spirit guide sent me that one feather and it was very obvious, I think they may have been showing off, but that feather could have came in the form of, a smaller feather that fell on my shoulder, or a feather drawing that went through my Instagram feed, right? So it can come in different forms, and you just have to be open-minded about the experience and release any expectations. Keep in mind too that when you pray to God, right, your spirit guides and angels will usually answer the prayer on behalf of God. So you may already be interacting with your spirit guides and not even know it. Because again, usually spirit guides, they don't want the credit. I am just a little stubborn and I just want to know exactly who I'm dealing with. The more you interact with them, the more they will interact with you. The more they will see that you're actually paying attention. And it will actually be a lot of fun. And then before you know it, you will have literally an army of light beings and angels and dragons and just a legion of light beings just there all the time. Like it's your own personal spiritual entourage, and it's so badass. These energies have chosen to work on behalf of God, and God is a representative of unity and unconditional love. So as long as your mission is part of the unconditional love and unity mission, then you will have a huge army backing you up in order to do so. They'll make sure that you have all of the tools, and they will also make sure that you are protected. And so if you've never interacted with your spirit guides, I can guarantee you that they're just sitting there waiting to have the conversation with you. So I hope you liked the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and say hi to your spirit guides for me. I'll see you next time. Bye.